Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, with a topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, today's topics, we've all heard of them: orgies, swingers clubs. All in all, they are all sex parties. So guess what our topic is today. And later on at the end of the show, I will give you some virtual websites for sex parties while we are all stuck inside with COVID and what is going on. Granted, we are allowed out, but we are still having some restrictions put on us. But now have gone virtual. That might be a little easier for you. Before we get in now, orgies are 5 members. And, the guests are freely engaged in open and unrestrained class, educational attainment, or other shared attributes. So when we are thinking about how deep we want to go into sex parties, remember, orgies are a little bit more open, whereas swingers are more of amongst an elite group, but are all sex parties. And sometimes, if you want to try it, it is a little scary to get into at first. But it's something that you want to try. Do reach out. If there is a small group in your area, or reach out to your friends. Maybe they've come up to you before and you want to give it a try this time. Participation in an orgy obviously is a common sexual fantasy. We always look at the threesome, generally a man with 2 women, but hey, women like with 2 men. Becomes a little bit more of a testosterone fight. But hey, if you can have the fantasy, why can't a woman? Now, this, with this orgy and it being a common sexual fantasy, it also is a group sex targeting, which targets, in the word targeting, such consumers a time ago, our lovely ancestors, and in Greece and everywhere. You can go online and look at the pictures because they are there. Was a big thing with orgies. Hell Caligula, which is one of the Greek gods, or shall I say, someone in high Greek power. Where, and especially if you have a partner and your partner is into that is complete. Think about that before you do it, because there are a lot more people involved. So you don't want to have that animosity. And if you really care about your partner, don't sneak out to do it, because they will find out. Always, always be open. And as I said, orgies do date back in history to the Greeks. And they've become like more popular as society has progressed in the years, because people are trying new things and going out there. They don't want that regular sex. They want to be more open. A lot of people are more open, and sometimes it does help your relationship. But again, I am stating this for purposes of how much you want to be with your partner and have a long-term relationship with them. If you do not, well, hey, go about your whatever you want to do with the orgy. That is completely up to you. Seek them out, but do be honest and open with your partner so that they know. Now, it's really, I mean, let's do this. I mean, they can't talk, animals, but we, as human beings, are warm-blooded, so we kind of like to do the difference in things and trying all of these. It is in our ancestry and is something, if you don't want to go into where it's a complete everybody's strangers, which would be the overall orgy, because it's just a bunch of people getting together and having sex, you can seek them out. Swingers clubs, a little bit more intimate. The anonymity of that is much more respected because it's amongst people that you know and the like. So, don't ever think that what you do is out of the ordinary, because there are a lot of people that you probably think are not doing it, are doing it. Oh my God. We don't know, but they did, historically, the historical evidence does show that the Persians, the Lydians, and I'm probably gonna screw up this word, but hey, were very famous for the debaucheries, that they constantly enjoyed with regards to, sex parties, orgies as they're called back then. We've gotten a little bit more fun with the name, or a little bit something that everybody can take, and it's not actually putting a stigma on it with sex parties. So think about it that way. But obviously the inventors of the orgy were the Greeks. It started there. It was basically called like Greek love, and this is how it has gone and continued. So we kind of sort of nowadays have thought that these things don't go up, but they do. They do. They have not stopped. We kind of sort of just look back at history and say, oh my God, they did that back then. They do it now. Don't ever think that it was never, ever not done. It has stopped. So history has shown that it has not stopped and that it is quite alive and well. Granted, there are commercials out there for just cable TV, and we've all seen them, but they're talking about swingers, and it's amazing because the people that come over think they're watching TV when they're actually talking about sex. Those commercials are pretty funny, I have to say. They did a good job with them. We have, in regards to the history of orgies, the Greek women that tended the Oracle of Delphi, they held their own separate orgies of the god, to the god Dionysus. So us women were quite prominent in that. So give yourself a hand, not thinking that it was just the male gender in the women and men are there doing that. It is not. So that being said, hurrah to the Greeks in coming up with this. Hurrah to the and just letting themselves go, because sex is part of our culture and that. So we are going to move on and continue into the next segment with a beginner's guide to sex parties. Woohoo! So you get a little bit of history in there, and now you're saying, that sounds kind of interesting. I actually want to now piqued my interest. I actually want to go out and actually see what it's all about. If you're single, much easier. If you got a partner, do reach out and see how they feel about it. And I always will say that, because it all depends on what you want in the long term with your partner. So knowing how they feel, if they're in for it, take them with you. The Beginner's Guide to Sex Parties. Now, this is actually on the website vice.com. So do look at this. They give you a little insight into it, how not to feel like the nerd, that first person who comes in, that newbie. And they give you ways to look at it and how, and what you want to get out of it. So basically they just start right out with events designed around hooking up. Might sound intimidating, and it is, because when it's a sex party, the big word there is not only sex, but that party means more than one person. And you're going to go in there, and if you are shy, it can be very, very intimidating. This might also be your way of trying to break out of that shyness, which is a good place to start probably. And you might learn a few things from the different people there that you can just open yourself up to, because it's fun. You might bring something to them. They might want to teach you something. Now, you've got to imagine, like, in your head, make believe you're the camera, your eyes are the lenses, and picture what they may just look like, that sex party. Are they mysterious? Are they elite soirees? Featuring masks and creepy rituals? Well, that was in the movie Eyes Wide Shut. So we kind of sort of relate that to things that we have seen in the past. And we relate sex parties to, is that what we're seeing on TV? Is that what is really happening? Now, if you get it from a porn point of view, well, if you go onto YouTube and look it up, 10 to 1, that's probably exactly what it is. They're just a little bit more inhibited out of showing it off onto YouTube. So do remember that as well. If you don't want to be known quite yet, you might want to avoid those particular sex parties. Now, it's funny because it goes on as sweaty orgies, where people penetrate one another as a way of saying hi. Well, that is a way of looking at it. It is a wild sex fest. And that's putting it politely. So, because we can't swear on podcasts. But as is explained, it is if you're introvert and you want to come out, that's great. A lot of people who are extroverts very much enjoy this and do not have a problem with sex parties. You have the hyper-qualified sex, may not be like you, but they are in there. I think getting over that initial shyness on your first sex party will allow you to see if this is something that you want to do again. You might just say, okay, that was enough for me. Yeah, we're going to stick to the monogamous. especially as a beginner. There are super elaborate sex parties that do exist out there. So, on the other hand, there are those that are really super chill and casual ones. Might be right up your alley. Maybe you're not ready to jump right in. When you are starting out wanting to try sex parties, please, like with everything else, look around, shop around, watch videos. You know, if you're on YouTube or you find something online, obviously you can probably find them in your area. There are websites, which I will talk about in the end portion of my segment. So that if you want to try it virtual first, it might be just that. And then build up to going to the in-person sex party. And, you know, there's other words for them, like the play party, which is common in the BDSM circles. They have different names. You've got to really look around, especially as a beginner. Some are private, some are semi-public. It depends. You might have to be invited in. So looking into things in your area and asking, it's almost like an interview for yourself. Think about that. This is something new for you. You're having sex with a bunch of either strangers or friends. You really need to shop around. And with that said, we are going to take a break here. And when we come back, we will continue on with our beginner's guide to sex parties. And then move on to other lovely ways to get around the sex parties. And as promised in our last segment, we will talk about, or I will give you some places or some websites, virtual, and some that you can look up if you are interested in doing so. So go get that drink, go get that snack, come back, get relaxed, and meet me back here for more sex talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning back into the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am still your host, Andra, with a topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, our topic, and just recapping from last segment, is about the sex party, commonly known as a threesome, orgy, swingers club, and how if you are a beginner, you want to, a few things to help you guide your way through. They are not for the skittish. However, the idea of going to one might seem really intense for somebody who is beginning, but they are great ways to, for that little shy but curious person who wants to try something new, to expand the horizons. You learn a lot from them. And there are people there who have been doing it for a very long time. And you can go in there and they will teach you something. You might learn something new. You might think you have this down. This, this fun thing, sex, that we all love and enjoy. You get in there, you might learn something new. Generally, sex parties people who have fetishes usually will hold these as well because they are like-minded people in a way in which you can go and express yourself without having to feel as though you are being judged. If this is something that you have done with your partner but want to bring it out and learn some more, sex parties are the place to go. So remember that. But that beginner and that first new one can be very, very scary and really an eye-opener to you. So you want to go in there at least looking as though you know what you're doing sexually. Same reason, because you are extremely horny and you want to expand on what you're doing. And like I said, learn something new. They're not to change your mind about how you feel about sex or anything, but they are a way to have just a good old fun. If you need an outlet because you want a lot more sex and can't keep a single partner because of that, because you're not being fully satisfied, this may just be for you. Not a lot of people actually look at it that way, because when you bring it up, it's if you do have a partner, the first thing they think is it becomes a cheating type deal. So communication, big. Also, the other is always have a consent, and it is often mandatory because you don't want to go in there and just think that you can do just about anything. You are all like-minded people in the sex parties. However, consent is still a big policy. Do not just take that for granted. Again, either on your own or with your partner. You might just meet that one person who is just a little bit more hyperly sexy, sex wanting and seeking than you. And you just want to go along with it. So go and do it. Now, there are some things to think about before you go to your first sex party. Obviously, find the right venue. You need to find something that is going to be it's going to be very good for you, one. Two, you're going to feel comfortable at least going there. Obviously, what I mean by this is your first sex party. If it is a swingers club, obviously you know one another. So it may be just that much easier. And later on, you want to expand on a more anonymous sex party. So right now, if that's how you want to go about it, do that. But do check out venues. If you obviously feel a little nerved doing it right in the same city that you live in because you've lived there all your life and you don't want anybody, that one thing that you might find somebody that you know, or the mere fact of the matter, it might get out. Go into another venue. But do get somewhere that you will feel comfortable. I mean, most big cities have get-togethers and clubs that cater. And there are price points in sexuality and plenty of, hosts out there who are doing special events or parties for first-timers. So think about it that way. Even look it up that way online. First-timer sex party. You're all there the first time. So you're all learning about it and learning from each other. So I wouldn't go right into one where there are seasoned fetish, people or BDSM going on, or they've been at, sex parties for the longest time just in general. If you feel confident enough to do that, go for it. Not a wise choice for your first time. You you really need to check that out. Make sure the legality is there and that the sex clubs are legal. I mean, obviously, it comes down if it's something that's between friends and you all get together and do it every so often. Obviously, that is in the privacy of your own home, and it is between you, and I doubt that all of you are going to go out and say anything. So think about it. Look up for that venue. There are some that do charge for you to go in. Sex is being allowed. There might just be you go in there and everybody's topless and later become bottomless as well, or there might just be where you're just laying around completely nude and just fondling each other, whereas it's just a relaxed den of bunch of naked people. It is what you find. So those are kind of some of the basics. Think of the basics on what you think are going to be what the plan for going on, as I said earlier. Obviously, if you've sat down and you and your partner have talked about it, bringing your partner is not a problem. But if you want to look into it and then go back to your partner and discuss it, there you go. Your partner might just say, why don't you go there, see how it is, come back and tell me. If you have that type of relationship, kudos. Because sometimes you don't. But do figure out, a plan. Generally, you probably will be going alone in the beginning. But nowadays, with sex being so open, most likely you're going to bring your partner with you because you want to enjoy it with them, because you are there to see them get pleasured. And your relationship is very strong in that manner, and you are expanding that. Some people do feel safer when they do go alone. Others feel safer if they bring someone along with them that they know, so that there is a comfort level there. There's a little bit of self-consciousness going on. You're more aware. How are they going to look at me? Are they going to like and see what my body looks like? Hun, I don't think they're concerned about what your body looks like. I think they're more concerned about what you can do for them and what they can do for you to get you off. There are those, if you think about it that way, you might be able to go there. S&M are usually big with sex parties. Might not be for you right now, but abide by the first date rule, which is you tell a friend that you trust and that you'll be out all night and where you'll be. So this way, like later on, if you're feeling a little squeamish, a little scary, it's not exactly what you wanted, they can check in with you. Also in the morning to find out how it is. If you decide to stay, you might even have it where, okay, text me at this particular time, or you have some, this one word, if you text them, they know to come get you or to get you out or send something to you. Hey, we've all done it when we've gone on a date. If the date's not going good, you might need to be quote unquote rescued. We've all had that here and there. Now, if you bring a friend, now this could be for a male, your body. You're a best friend. You guys have been together. Just talk about sex like it's nothing. And you're out just having a good old time throughout your life. And trying to get the best out of everything and every aspect of your life. Take them with you. Tell them they probably would love to go. They might even like it more than you do. So you might go home and say, I really wasn't into it, but if you can continue to go for it. They may go back to their partner and do that. It might just be you bring your sex buddy with you, the person that you, the booty call with. You don't have a very in-depth relationship but for sex. That's a way of taking that booty call one step further and bringing them along and let them, have some fun too. Remember, you're not in a relationship. They're your booty call. So when you get back and you go back to the booty call, it might be something you can call them up later and say, hey, we had a hell of a time at the sex party. You want to go back and try that again. And now you have your booty call plus a sex party buddy. Remember that. Now, big third point on the beginner's list is set firm boundaries for yourself beforehand. All right? Very, very important. It keeps you in control of yourself and not being able to be taken advantage or have your boundaries, invaded. Remember, this is your space. This is my space. And you should be okay. You're going in, depending on how big the party is, you might look it up, and when you have looked it up the first time you picked a venue, there was only a few people signed up to go or a few people who were going. Then when you get there, that list has tripled or quadrupled. You weren't expecting it. So set boundaries for yourself. Very important. And that's generally what you do when you interact anywhere. Have boundaries for yourself. It's just a way of respecting yourself and knowing how far you will go and what you will put up with. It also allows other people an understanding. At some point in time, you might get to the point of being able to maybe go a little further, still while maintaining boundaries, which is very, very important. So you got to say, I don't do that, I don't feel like that. Be able to voice your opinion and maintain your boundaries. When you are ready to go beyond that is when you will say, okay, I'll try that today. Remember that? Don't forget it. Now, if you're bringing a partner, obviously there's more factors to be considered beforehand. Now, one of them is, will you two be just basically fondling each other or playing with each other and not interacting with the entire sex party? You just want to be out in the group to see what it would feel like to have sex in this arena. That is one of the things that you would think about, because for the first time, that might be exactly where you want to go, and getting comfortable in that setting so that if you come back and you're thinking about it still and you want to try it again, you might have seen something there that somebody was doing that you wanted to try, and you're able to branch out a little more, and it gets you comfortable in the crowd. So remember that is very important. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. We are going to take another break here. So when we come back, we'll continue with, our beginner's guideline here. And then continue on with other ways of looking at the sex party. And as promised, I will give some virtual sites in places where you can actually reach out right now that are going on during our pandemic of COVID. So replenish that drink, replenish that snack, come back, get relaxed, meet me back here for more sex talk with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Again, I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, welcome back, all you horny little devils, as we continue on with our beginner's guide. And just to, recap, we were going over things and how to, if this is your first time, things you should do beforehand. So we're going to continue on with our beginner's guide. And the last one on the list of things you should look for first, basically, is, now, you might be thinking, because the next one is called dressed decently. Now, you may be thinking you're going there and you're taking your clothes off. That might not be the case. Yes, it is a sex party, but you're going to your first one, you're a beginner. You might just go in there and have your clothes on and watch for the first time. So do dress neatly. Not like you're coming back from a long jog and you're sweaty and stanky. So do dress appropriate. You don't want to send the wrong vibes, because if you decide you like it and you want to come back, you may just see the same people there, because this is a regular group that's going on in a regular sex party, shall I say. And they may, you're looking to attract people. So that's what it is. If you go there and you're all in sweaty clothes, or you're in your, sweatsuit and whatever, you're probably going to turn people off. And you'll probably be the talk of how you dress there and everything. So, like I said, there are some parties that have themed costumes. There are ones that are inspired by different time frames. Sex parties are, again, just that. They are parties. So if you're going to have fun, they're going to give a theme from time to time. Dress accordingly. It is always fun to do that. If the sex party is, focused on the fetish, obviously go there with that intent and dress accordingly, because it is something that will be looked at. Now, moving on to what to do and avoid doing at a sex party. Obviously, do respect other attendees. Everybody there basically has the same idea. However, they are still people, and there are expectations to uphold. If you were going to a dinner party, you would be respectful of your host and the individuals who are coming there, even if they are your friends. Same concept. Just there is sex involved. Remember that. You're not entitled to sex, even if it is a sex party. You are not entitled to it, and no one has to have sex with you. You might be totally turned away. That may just be not a sex party for you, please check elsewhere. So do respect those who are there. Now, there is sometimes a cover fee. It's not all the time, but they do have to rent where they are unless it's somebody's personal house. If it is a club, the club needs to get paid. So you do know that this may just be something that you have to pay. If you show up with a partner fully intending to have sex, that might change once you get there. So think about that. It all falls under the guise of respecting your attendees. And remember that. Very, very, you want respect? You've got to give them respect. Big with this is, please do get permission before touching anyone. And always be in a friendly way. If they say you cannot touch a part of their body, if they give you permission to touch them, but they do not want you to touch a particular part of their body, respect that and do not touch it. Because you have boundaries, those are their boundaries. You want your boundaries respected, respect theirs. You know, there is a policy at most clubs, whereas ask once and only once. Do not push the issue. If somebody does not want to have sex with you, respect that. If they want to have sex, hey, go for it. Remember, asking what they like and don't like. If they do say they don't want to be touched here or there, please do not do that. And comes back to respect, because somebody might come up to you and just started touching you and you didn't want to be touched by that person. Remember, find out how you would feel in their shoes. Number 2 on the what to do and or avoid doing at sex parties is don't get wasted. Oh, not even for the mere fact of probably not being able to get it up or get wet. Just the mere fact of, really? You're probably staining the whole party because you're acting like a fool. Now, there are those people out there who can hold their liquor and actually perform very well. Go for it. However, do not go there. I mean, I'm sure there are, drinkers there. You know you're nervous. They know you're nervous. Don't get drunk, because you might just be that mean drunk and you've just ruined it for everybody, and you probably won't get invited back in if you actually reached out to them again to join in. It's just common sense, people. Common sense. Number 3 on the what to do and or avoid doing at a sex party. Feel free to decline propositions. I believe I just said that. Remember, it is your body. If you don't feel that the individual that came to you, don't like or are not attracted to have sex with, do decline. You are not going to be shunned. It's all about the respect, because it's not going to be worth it for you, and it's not going to be worth it for them. If it's just something where you have total control over those feelings and all you want to do is to get the sex, well, in that case, go for it. But do not allow them to believe that if they come up to you again and you tell them no, that because you did it with them before and you allowed them, you agreed to the proposition, that they're not going to come up to you again and probably expect it if you come back in. Does put a damper on what's going on in the sex party, and obviously attitudes will fly. That's probably just it's just as bad as getting freaking drunk at it. If you just want to have a foot rub and somebody asks you or whatever, you can reply, no thank you. You can reply, you don't want it. It doesn't have to be the fact that it has to be sex. You know what I mean? It might just be that little bit of foreplay, and they may just take their foreplay out on you and go to a different partner. Think about it that way. It might just be, okay, got you off, got you rocks, got you erect, or got you wet, but you went over to somebody, they went over to somebody else to finish it off. You got to find somebody else, or do it yourself. You are there to get off. There you go. I'm sure they'll watch you. You could be watching them and masturbate with, by watching them. Who's to say? Somebody might see you doing it and later want to do it for you. It's all about that. 4, communicate. Big thing, and I've always said this, and I continue to say it. Communicate your boundaries before you hook up, and ask about others, their boundaries. Okay? This is very, very important. It makes everything flow smoothly so that everybody is happy in the end and gets off. Either way you do it, whether you're just sitting there masturbating and watching, because that's how you're going to feel comfortable for the first time, and then branch out later, at least you have not left a sour taste in the other participant's mouth, so to speak. And that is not, it is what it is. Let's put it that way. Sex does mean different things to different people. You should, really make sure that you and the person to whom you've agreed to to that proposition with are on the same page. And that is only going to be done through communicating, people. You could just be okay with just oral sex. And if someone came up to you and said, do you want me to blow you? Well, there you go. But that's all they asked to do to you. Unless you communicate with them and then you want to, penetrate them and actual sexual intercourse, you better maintain the outer course. And then you might just be finishing it off your if you just want them to talk dirty to you and sit there and watch you masturbate, communicate that. Communicate your desire. It respects you. It respects them. And everything goes well. There's no conflicting feelings, nothing more, nothing less. Who's to say if you don't have a partner on the outside, you might meet somebody there and then later on decide to go, hook up, have a relationship, and go to different other parties in clubs, sex parties. So you don't know what's going to happen. By communicating, respecting, and all of that good stuff and having boundaries, this is how you find out. Number 5 is you advocate for yourself. No one's going to do it for you. You have to be, this is above rules about, all about being considerate. This is above all of that, of others. You apply how other people treat you. You want them to treat you in one particular way. There you go. You gotta, be able to open up your mouth. Like it's been said, you are not obligated to have sex. This is a beginning. But somebody at the sex party might see you, find you extremely attractive, and want to do things for you. You may not be quite ready yet, so please do advocate for yourself for what you want to do. If someone makes you uncomfortable, do that. Tell the host. Always maintain some sort of common sense. Because it's a sex party does not mean that you need to forget these rules. It is what it is, and people are still people. Sex or no sex. You might not be invited back if you don't abide by these. So remember that. you might want to try a same-sex party just to see how it is. But you're heterosexual, it's just something you're branching out or something that you wanted to try. Remember, going into that, these individuals, there might be other individuals like that there. Respect, ask, set your boundaries, advocate. Everybody gets what they want. And in the long run is to get off. Have that orgasm. So go with that. Next, take a break if you need one. If you are in there and then after an hour or even a half an hour, you're beginning to feel overwhelmed, take a step back, go outside, get some air, gather your thought processes, and then go back in. Not everybody, can just go in there and like, I can do this. It's not like that. You're a beginner. Baby steps. Baby steps. Now, as with all types of sex, do practice safer sex when you go to sex parties, because there are totally different people there, strangers to you. You might find that one person, if you have brought your partner or your friend with you, that might be the only person you know there. So do have condoms. Bring sex toys if you want. Very good to bring with you if you are not planning to have penetrative sex with anybody. If you just want to get off, but you want them to use a dildo, or whatever the case may is, you do not know them, you do not know what they have or do not have, I'm assured. There's probably sex parties that you have to prove it or something. I wouldn't put it past it. But do remember that. So we are going to take a break here. And when we come back for our final segment, we will talk up some more, just on some few other things as a beginner. And then I will give some sites where you can have virtual sex parties that are going on now during COVID. So if you want another drink and some more snacks, come back for more sex talk with Andra, where we will finish up the show.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning in again to the final segment of the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, we have been talking and going over the beginner's guide to sex parties, and the last thing on that list is very, very important, as is everything else that we talked about when it comes to sex parties. Do not take videos or photos unless you have explicit permission to do so. Invasion of privacy. Well, not so much of an invasion of privacy, They go there for the anonymity in the sex parties. They don't want you to bring it back. So, and you can, have that option of broadcasting. So 10 to 1, your phones are probably going to take it away from you in the beginning anyway. So remember that. Respect, respect, respect. Now, going over and having sex parties and doing this, we are in COVID lockdown. Although there are some of us or states that are going into the phases and allowing us to come out and get our economy boosting a little bit there. But I am assured we will be back in lockdown where we're going to want to, go to a sex party. I'm sure there are people out there wondering where the heck are they going to do the sex parties if you can't go in person? Remember, video is such a main thing right now. And the thing with that is, yes, a lot of masturbation, but it's a bunch of you together. And it is a way of going around the whole pandemic. Oh my goodness, my tongue is tied. And being able to have quote unquote group sex parties virtually. So, I mean, there are sex parties. There's one particular place, one that holds them is Playscapes. A lot of places are somewhat out of New York, but there are a lot of places that are in your own town. Now, Zoom being one of the biggest meeting platforms virtually is having, people are putting sex parties together through Zoom. And from there, they had a little problem there, but from my understanding, they're actually fixed that, so to speak, and now back up. But there are other virtual platforms such as Skype, FaceTime. These are all being utilized. And then there is one of the world's largest camming services is the Adult Friend Finder. They launched a platform called Virgy, Virgy. So that is an online platform specifically for planning virtual orgies. We have to release somewhere, people. So there are a lot of them that are out there. There are a lot of, obviously, in-person sex parties that have been organized, have been forced to close down. I'm sure they're going on regardless here and there, and taking on the scare of possibly getting COVID. But seriously, and they're being pre-approved, the people that are guests into the sex parties. So they are being pre-approved to go in, and there are obviously pre-tested or whatever, how you want to call it. But there are just right on things that we have right now. Now, there is a London-based sex club called Killing Kittens. This particular virtual sex party is actually they hosted a digital orgy. And believe it or not, they had a burlesque show, fire performers, and 100 masked attendees virtually, which was pretty damn cool. So they are finding ways to do this. There is a party organizer called Crossbreed, and they've gone in and they've started their own virtual sex parties. You can look into there. There are a lot of things that are going on. You might want to start it out virtually. But then again, that might be something that you're already doing. Mind you, you have to pick your venue if this is a beginning thing. If you are pretty much a seasoned vet in sex parties, then obviously finding a venue is not a problem. We have a tendency to, even if it's video, be a little bit, well, we're more comfortable with video, and even then, you can block out some parts that you don't want the person on the other end, or persons on the other end, to see. So those are basically setting your boundaries, and if they ask you, please advocate. Very, very important. One website is sexfinder.com. They have threesomes, sex parties, casual, no strings, things like that. They have sex personals on there. You can message the menus, the members, the menus. Well, it is a menu. Message the members and look for who you are looking for. You can find women near you. You can find men near you. You become a member. You sign up. That's one. There's another website, the swingersgroup.us. You can find swinger parties there, and you can join them as well. Same community type deal. You message and meet, and you join, you have fun. So you chat, you connect, you meet singles and or couples for sex parties in the here and now. Another one would be, Lovense, as you pronounce it, has sex party tips and finding sex parties and what to do when you are there. So, these are all online. You can go, these people, most of these, like Cosmopolitan discusses Killing Kittens virtual sex party, and they hold theirs right on Zoom. So they are being used on there. These things are all out here. Just put into the little search box on Google, because Google seems to be a pretty famous, and one being quite used the most these days as a search engine. And just look up sex party or swingers clubs or orgies, and you'll come up with a lot of these. They are on our common our virtual meetings platforms that are already out there. Like I said, Zoom. There's Skype. There's FaceTime. I wouldn't put it past that it's on a Google Duo. So wherever you can set up a meeting, set it up. You can go onto YouTube. They do have live YouTube. I'm assured you have to pay for the subscription, but it is there, and you can interact that way. People do have meetings on there. And, this is a way to escape this whole COVID isolation business. Another website is uberhorny.com. Uber horny. Can you handle that? Too funny. As I pointed out before, Adult Friend Finder. And it is actually, Adult Friend Finder is going like one step further with kinkiness. But a lot of people love it. So go and check it out. All of these, I am assured that you can find sex parties right near you, or if you are traveling, you want to find it where you're going, they are all on there. And you can, you're going to have to sign up on here, obviously, and participate. Reach out. Find which one you want to be in. If one has a really cool name to it, look it up. There is Snap Sext. It's Sext for sex. And that is actually a website, which is Snap Sext, which is spelled SNAPSEXT.com. You actually sext, obviously with texting, in real time. Here it says just women, but I believe there's more than that. So do look into that. It is fun to do if that is what you want to do and you want to go into. Obviously, if you watch porn and you've seen it on there and that's something that you want to do, reach out to it. Don't be scared. Go and do it. If you're going to go with a partner, or bring a friend the first time. If you're going to go by yourself for the first time, you don't have to participate. Because it's just like going in and feeling it out. Do I feel comfortable here? Will I feel comfortable having sex in a group of other people? It might just be the fact that you have a fetish and the likeness of that. Your inhibitions are gone. You're not shy because this is something that you want to do. But with that, set your boundaries. Respect the attendees. You can decline a proposition. So don't feel that you are obligated to take it on. If you go to somebody and ask them and they turn you down, please respect them. When you go into here, practice. I say it all the time. Practice safe sex here. Practice safer sex. If there's a toy you want to bring with you, bring it with you. Condoms. What other else? If you just want, of course, you just want a blowjob, or you want to, have your clitoris tickled, say it. Tell them what you want. You're not ready to go have balls out sex. But if you do accept that proposition to have oral sex and you want more, again, you have to ask. So if you're going to stay virtual, it is all masturbation. Hey, you and your partner may want to, do that together and have the opposite side of everybody else there watching the two of you. And that might just be as far as you want to go. Remember, it is all about the enjoyment, the pleasure, like minds getting together, trying something new with your partner. You want to be respected and your boundaries be respected. So do they. Obviously, like I said, if you have a booty call and you just want to do something different on that, go for it. If she's all into it or he's all into it, go for it. Do communicate. Very, very important. It makes things run smoothly. Don't get plastered there because you're nervous. It's not going to end well for anybody. And for the most part, you probably will get a limp penis, or you won't be able to get your vagina wet. And the whole idea, down in the end, is to come back and actually have some sex. You don't feel obligated, shall I say, to have it right then and there. Go for the first time watch. You may not have to get undressed. You'll probably get, excited. So play with yourself. Just masturbate. However, if you get in there and after half an hour you're feeling a little, okay, that's a little too much, step away from it and then go back in when you feel comfortable again. It is all about being comfortable, and is this something that you want to do? You may get to that half an hour or hour point, feel uncomfortable, get outside and not want to go back in. Very, very likely, but it is just that, a sex party. And on that note, I am at the end of my show. So as always, please, please, please practice safe sex. If not for your partner, definitely for you. With sex parties, please practice safer sex. Sex toys, condoms, all of those are welcome, I am assured, because everybody is feeling the same. So don't be afraid to bring your favorite sex toy with you. Thank you for listening to the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us here, and it helps me. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.